What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Floyd Street's Finest, presented by Great Flood Brewing Company. I am your host, Jeff Greer, back for another episode. This week's interview subject is Dre Davis. Excited to have him on to talk a little bit about his season, his hoops upbringing. I always like to know where the basketball background came from. He's got a great story growing up in Indiana and Indianapolis. And we also talk a little bit about his brand and foundation and some of the other things that have popped up, opportunities that have popped up for him so far this year after the changing in the NIL policies in the NCAA. But we talk a lot about Louisville basketball as well, of course. And it's a good discussion. Before we do that, a couple of things to get to. First and foremost, make sure you're subscribed to the Field of 68 across the board, YouTube, Twitter, wherever you can find them, Instagram. Make sure that you follow them and stay tuned for consistently good content across the board, nightly shows, three-man weave. My favorite college basketball podcast is now doing daily shows, just a lot of different good content, not only just across the ACC, but across college basketball. So check it out if you have not already. And of course, make sure that you are leaving a rating and review for Floyd Street's Finest. That does so much to help us. So we really appreciate not only you listening, but also leaving us a rating and review, and tell us what you think of the show. Before we get to the Dre Davis conversation, though, I want to talk a little bit about Louisville and where this season stands as of this recording. I'm recording this the afternoon after Louisville defeated Pitt in one of the weirdest, most bizarrely called college basketball games from an officiating standpoint that I have ever seen. A very, very quick triggered double tech to start the game. I think it was 1:12 into the game on Pitt and Louisville, Malik Williams and John Hughley, that just, I think, changed the tenor of the game the rest of the way, because then there are technicals given out after that to Pitt's bench, as well as Jeff Capel for trying to figure out what was happening and getting into it with one of the referees. And then the same thing towards the end of the game with Louisville as well, with Malik Williams and Chris Mack. Just a really bizarre game. And I think when it just, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but just real quick, I rarely talk about officiating because it's just not something that I typically get worked up about, because I think we blow it way out of proportion, obviously, with the way people react to officiating. But last night's game, the Pittsburgh-Louisville game, the game was completely affected and altered by the sensitivity of one referee. And it was just really bizarre. It was a very bizarre watching experience. And because of that early sensitivity, it just felt like everybody in the refereeing crew the rest of the game had to try to keep that genie in the bottle, the milk in the carton, whatever you want to say, to keep things tight. And it just made it be not much of a watchable basketball game. It was close, but it wasn't much of a watchable basketball game. And certainly at the end there, elongated a game that did not need to be stretched anymore. So hopefully that does not happen very often in the future, if at all. Here's what I'll say about Louisville. I don't know what they are. I don't know. I was asked last night, as we're walking back to the press room, do you think this team is fool's gold at 4-0? I don't know. I'm not going to say that, and I'm not going to say I think they're awesome. I don't have an answer yet. And I realize we're 14 games into the season, but I think something that was a variable that there are two variables here that I don't know that we put enough time and thought into with Louisville. One is Chris Mack's suspension being such a big factor for him needing a while to figure out what his rotations are. He's now 8 games into that, which, if you really think about it in terms of 8 games from the start of the season, he would still have 3 more non-conference games to be working out his rotation before they get into league play, or 9 plus a league game and then 2 more non-conference games and then the rest of the league slate. And so when you think of it in those terms, okay, yeah, you're starting to get there, but which I think Mac is now, but you're not quite there yet. So that's one thing that I think was sort of underrated about this Louisville squad. The other thing is, when you have 14 scholarship players, Now, granted, one of them is out for the season in Mike James. Gabe Wisnitzer has had some injury issues that have put him behind the 8 ball. He's played a couple of times, but not regularly. So it's really 11, 12 guys who are in the fray. There's a lot of different options that you can go with, and there's a lot of different ways to muddy up a rotation. And I think both of those factors have been hugely influential in the early part of the league slate for Louisville, and just over the course of the season, to the point where it just still hasn't felt like they know exactly who they are. And I don't know that we're going to get many answers to that until they start playing more challenging opponents in the upcoming slate. Now, Florida State, the game that is after this, immediately after this recording of this podcast, will be a good test. Florida State has not been great. They are one of the 5 teams that were picked in the preseason top 5 in the media poll for the ACC. That group of 5 teams, Duke, North Carolina, Virginia, Virginia Tech, and Florida State, are a combined 8 and 7 in the league so far. So it hasn't really panned out the way we thought it would, especially with FSU and Virginia Tech. But Florida State is talented. They've been a bugaboo for Chris Mack and Louisville over the years. That is a good test. Of course, the Virginia game towards the end of the month will kick off a run of tough games that Louisville has to play against Duke. They've got Notre Dame in there, Syracuse, games that I think Duke is the favorite in the league. All those other games you would think would be almost 50-50 propositions if Louisville is a team that can get there. Now, if this is fool's gold, those games you suddenly think, okay, yeah, the Virginia game especially probably will be the underdog in that game. I don't know, but we'll find out as that game comes closer. We're kind of taking it, at least I am, a game by game basis to see what type of improvements have been made with this Louisville squad. I'll say 2 things about Louisville. One is, all things considered, league games, it's a cliche a little bit, but they are difficult. We talk about this with Dre Davis. They are difficult because even the worst teams in your league are still recruiting talent that the teams you're playing in a lot of the teams you play in the non-conference don't have, which is what separates the Power 6 in college basketball from a lot of other conferences. And I know there's variances there between some of the quote unquote mid-majors. But Pitt now, everybody's complaining about a close game against Pitt. I went to Pitt, so I'm going to put that caveat out there. I have to mention that because I know people will bring it up. The numbers aren't great. Got off to a horrible start, but Pitt is 0-3 in the ACC and has lost 3 games by a combined 5 points to Virginia, Notre Dame, and Louisville. All 3 teams I would put in the same grouping in the league. So before we get all up in arms about specifically that game being close, which was really probably going to end up being like a 7 to 10 point win until the technical fouls late, which were obviously, as Chris Mack said, not great, not acceptable. I think we're overreacting to it being a close game. I think instead you want to learn from victory and you take it. And the bottom line is that at the end of the season, if Louisville is 15-5 in the ACC, or I don't know that they will be, or 12-8, you're still going to say we banked 4 games at the start of the ACC schedule. If you're a Louisville fan or a Louisville staff member, whatever, you banked 4 games. Doesn't matter what the scores were. You banked 4 wins early in the schedule. And I feel like in years past, they might have dropped some of those games with the way they played in late game situations, and they have managed to figure out ways, sometimes out of their own grasp, even ways to finish off games. They've had a couple of chances for opponents to make game tying or game winning threes that haven't gone in. Bottom line is Louisville has held on and won all of those games. I'd rather be Louisville than any of the other teams at this point in those games. So does it need to get better? Yes. Does it need to get much more consistent? Yes, no question about it. But I would rather have those challenges ahead of me and be 4-0 in the ACC than not. That's all I'm saying. The net rankings that everyone's freaking out about, guys, it's January 5th. Teams have played 10 to 15 games. Give it a couple more weeks. The league will start to settle a little bit. And again, if Louisville is still in the 70s in the net in February, yes, that's a problem. Right now, it's still pretty volatile with results starting to settle in and teams that have inflated rankings from their non-conference going into weaker conference play. Just wait. It's okay. Just take a deep breath. It's okay. It's still early. But before we get to our conversation with Dre Davis, I want to tell you guys, of course, about my pals over at Great Flood. They are going all out this season. During all televised women's and men's basketball games, drinks are 10% cheaper for the entirety of the game. That's a big hit for me. I was always a big smoked brown ale drinker myself. Still love that beer, and delicious. Good stuff at Great Flood. Pricing is available at both our Highlands Tap Room and the Middletown Restaurant. We love hosting you and can't wait to root along with you as we cheer on our Cardinals. Thank you for your support, and go Cards. As a side note, we're now expanding our options in our tap room for the first time in 7 years, offering wine by the glass or bottle, and a liquor and cocktail menu is coming soon as well. And for Sundays at either location, both in Middletown and in the Highlands, down in that Douglas Loop area, you can enjoy endless mimosas. A little shout out to Chris Beard with that. Sorry, that's a very niche joke. They served mimosas at a recent Texas game. I'm sorry I made the reference. Before we move on as well, let me tell you about our partners at BetRivers Sportsbook too. If you haven't signed up for BetRivers yet, now is the time. They're offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. What sets them apart is they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. And with their new Rush Pay instant approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, and more reliable. College basketball season is well underway at this point, in the full swing of things. So it is time. You've run out of time to wait. Get in on the action by going to BetRivers.com today, or by downloading the BetRivers iOS app. You must be 21 years or older, and if you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. I've babbled enough. Let's talk to Dre Davis. All right, we are joined now by Dre Davis. Dre, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
I'm doing all right. For people listening to this podcast, we're recording it the afternoon after the day after Louisville defeated Pittsburgh, my alma mater, a close game last night to move to 4-0 in the ACC. Dre, I guess first and foremost, as one of the I guess veteran players, now it's crazy to think about that as a sophomore, but you have been in the program now 2.5 years. Your thoughts on how this season is going so far for your group?
I think it's starting to pick up. Obviously, we've dropped some games that we feel as though we should have won. We've had some big games where we, have put a complete game, defensive game together. Obviously, we still growing. We're still, striving to hit our stride. Obviously, we're not where we want to be, but I think it's going in the right direction.
Do you, people, you never can please everybody. Obviously, there's going to be reactions to, hey, we're happy we're 4-0. There's going to be people who say 4-0, but every game has been close in the league. Walk us through, as a player at your level, how difficult is it in the ACC? I mean, you could be talking about a team that's considered to be one of the teams at the bottom of the standings, but how much of a challenge is it night in and night out in this league?
Right. I mean, every game you have to come ready to play, ready, to go. Anybody can lose to anybody in this league. Every game you got to come ready to play. So I think, like you said, we're not able to please everybody. Like, oh, it's close games, but I think just being able to, come up with these wins are huge for us. We even talked about in the locker room after game, like, we want to win big, but at the same time, being in these close type of games, can end up benefiting us later, later in the year, having that late game experience and be able to come out with these wins now. So, like I said, in this league, it's tough. Any game you could be beat, any given team. So, every game you got to come ready to play.
What do you feel like? Something that I have noticed, and I'm sure a lot of people have noticed, is that on any given night for you guys, I mean, what you're going to get with most of you guys, but it seems like there's someone has a big game when needed. You came in the clutch in the second half against Georgia Tech. Ellis had a big game against Pittsburgh, especially in the second half. Do you guys have that vibe, like in the locker room? Is there like a wonder of like who's going to get hot here in this critical moment, or is it just an assumption that at some point somebody is going to be the guy down the stretch in the second half?
I'm not sure if it's would you say like a assumption or
Yeah,
I
like
kind of
is
think
it
it's
like is there a feeling
um,
that there's going to be someone like that for you
yeah, I
in
mean,
these games?
yeah, definitely. I think we got a group of guys that, at any given moment, anybody can get hot at any given moment of the game. So, um, we got a deep group. So, I mean, any given moment, anybody can, get hot and go off and, have a good stretch of game or a full complete game. So, um, I mean, I guess you could say it's that assumption or that wonder, I guess.
Well, how would you rate your season so far?
It's been up and down. Um, I kind of hold myself to a higher standard than obviously what my percentages and averages show. So, I mean, for me personally, I mean, it's been okay, but obviously, I think I, can be better and will be better. Uh, but I mean, it's all right. Just got to keep working, keep grinding, get to where I want to be.
What do you, so you are, and I know we've talked about this before, you are critical of yourself, you critique yourself as any good player would. What are some of the things right now that you really want to get better at over the next 2 months?
I think first things first is getting out of my own head. Um, that's one area I've always struggled with. I think once I, able to do that on a consistent basis and stay consistent with that, stay confident, I think every other part of my game, grows. Um, Obviously, I need to shoot the ball better. Um, Need to continue, run to my strengths. Like I'm a good post player. I play through contact well, get into the rim. Continue to do that at a high level. Just really just picking and choosing my spots as well as cutting down on turnovers and continue to create for teammates as well.
So when guys tell me getting out of their own heads or I guess channeling what works and trying to avoid what doesn't work, when you wake up on game day and Dre Davis is feeling good on game day and you know that you're locked in, what are some of the things you think that line up mentally for you that make you feel like you're locked in and you're good to go for that game and where you want to be?
I think it just starts with my positivity and mindset going into the game. Just being confident, being comfortable with the player that I am, and just being confident doing it.
We talked about this on media day. My gosh, it was a couple months ago now. I can't believe it's been moved so quickly. But we talked a little bit about how you developed kind of that bull mentality. The guy who's willing to. You and Matt Cross have this reputation now on the team in Jared West as well as guys who are willing to get on the floor. You're willing to get into some battles. I know you grew up with a brother who is also coming to Louisville, and we'll talk about him in a second. But how did you kind of build that mentality? Where did that come from for you growing up?
I think that's something I've always had, just through my competitive nature. I come from a basketball family, so I mean, every day I kind of work out with my uncles or older guys in the family, and it comes just from me wanting to to win. We play a lot of one-on-one, a lot of backyard games. So I think it just starts there with just the mindset of wanting to win and do anything it takes to be able to win.
Was there it's always funny, like there's moments. I'll never forget talking to John Morant's dad. There was a moment when he was like 8 and he beat his uncle or his cousin in NBA 2K, and he was making these passes with the video game where the uncle went in the kitchen. It's like, this dude is unreal already at 8 or 9 years old. Was there a moment when you were younger where you were kind of getting that vibe, like I can make it to a high level at Division I college basketball?
I mean, that's something that's always been a goal and dream of mine. So I think just growing up, just continue to stay down and grind until it was my time. Um, I kind of had a good support system coming up, going through that process. So I mean, it was always put in my ear like, you can make it, you can do it. So I mean, that's something that I always believed that I could do as long as I stayed down and just continue to grind. So uh, I guess that kind of answers your question.
Tell me about the brothers battles here, because it is, and I know we talked about this, but I think I saw there was a study a few months ago that people who have siblings who are similar in age or either ahead of them or close behind them tend to sharpen their competitiveness a little bit. And a lot of people at your level of athletics have siblings or cousins or whoever that they competed with. Take us through some of those battles that you guys had and how that shaped you.
Definitely. I think that's definitely shaped our, competitive nature and just our wanting and will to want to win. Obviously, like I said, it started from a young age. Obviously our pops and our mom as well, just putting the basketball in our hands. And as we got older, just playing, one-on-one battles. With if it's just me or my pops, or me and my little brother, all three of us. Or I even had uncles that I had an uncle that played Division I basketball. I had an uncle that also played with me in high school, my freshman year, his senior year. So I had a lot of battles just growing up with my family that created that that hunger, that bulldog mentality, like you said, that just competitive nature that always wanted to win and be the best. So that's definitely something that's always like you said, iron sharpens iron. That's kind of been the thing for me and my family.
Were you a big Pacers guy? Were you a college fan growing up? What was your did you watch both? What was your basketball consumption level as a kid?
Growing up, I'd probably say I was a little bit of Pacers fan when PG was there, Paul George. I was more so of a Paul George fan than a Pacers fan, I would say.
Okay.
I watched a lot of college basketball as well. I was a big Xavier and Louisville fan, so those two are my, I guess you say, dream schools, I guess.
Interesting. So there you go. So the Xavier connection to Chris Mack and Louisville is now where you are, being coached by the guy whose teams you would have been watching growing up. That's interesting. What drew you to Xavier? Why did you like Xavier?
I don't know. I was just growing up watching Xavier play. It's kind of just something that drew me to them. Paul Scruggs, that went there.
Mm-hmm.
He was originally from Indiana, so kind of opened my eyes to Xavier. Somewhere I kind of just enjoy watching it.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, you never know what the connection is going to be with a school. So tell me about Deontay. What do people need to know about him before he arrives? Like, how would you describe his game? What's his personality like?
It's kind of weird, You kind of got two different personalities. You kind of got that, laid back. It's kind of hard to read him, like if you really don't know him. But once he gets comfortable, he's real playful, real goofy. It's hard to stay mad at him. Someone always can bring a smile to your face no matter what he's going on. So I think he's real positive, real high on energy type guy. And once again, you get another competitor, someone that's willing to do whatever it takes to win. No matter what, just going to go out there and compete and give it all he has. So, I mean, that's what type of player he is. I see he's much more athletic than I am. He can get off the floor, run. So, I think he has a complete game too. Very good complete game.
How would you describe him, like role position wise? Is it similar to you, or you can kind of slot him in a few different places?
It's different. It's different.
Okay.
It's different. Growing up, I kind of played more down low, more 1 through 4, 1 through 5 ish. I kind of say he's more 1 through 3.
Okay.
More guard heavy, more so than I am. I think we got two different kind of playing styles. Yeah, it's different. I'll say it's different from my playing style.
Okay. Well, and for our listeners out there, Dre was also explaining how Deontay was the receiver and Dre was the quarterback back in the day when you got to be playing backyard football. It shows with your passing that you've got that vision. Something that I've tried to do with every guy who's come on here in the last, I guess, 6 months now, as the NIL rules changed for guys in college. And you can now start businesses. You can build a brand. You can make money off of the name, image, and likeness of a player, a long time coming on that rule. But something that I know Louisville fans have noticed is the creation of Dre Day, both the brand, but also the foundation. Obviously they're connected. Walk me through how that came about and where that inspiration came from for you to start something like that.
Yeah. So I always like, clothing lines, clothing brands. Something I've always been interested in. And I've always personally wanted to, have my own brand. I always wanted to, you see people wearing around Nike Tech Fits and Adidas clothes. And I've always been that type of guy, like, yeah, that's cool, but I want to wear my own stuff. So it's kind of, was able to put two in one, kill two birds with one stone with this opportunity to, express, a part of myself that I wasn't really able to beforehand with the clothing line, as well as, being able to, wear on my own brand and have my own clothing line as well. And with that, like you said, I was also able to start a Dre Day Foundation as well, which we have some things planned for that later on in the future. I say really just the whole ideal of that is really just giving back, being able to impact others' lives. I've always been that type of guy that always wanted to be able to, have others say that, yeah, like if it wasn't for Dre, like, I don't know what would happen. I've always wanted to be that type guy, be able to better somebody else's life, and be able to be in that position to do so. So that's kind of where it started. As of right now, I think the heavy focus right now is on the youth athletics. Like I said, we got some things lined up, some big fundraisers coming up later this year, actually pretty soon, I think, next couple months. But yeah, just to, start that foundation, really get it going, and pretty much all the money will be going towards youth athletics in Indiana.
Okay, that's cool. That's that. You know what? I mean, it as you said, it's a big plus to see a role model ahead of you. Even mentioning Paul Scruggs. I mean, that's how people grow and learn in communities, is they see someone ahead of them go do something. And I'm sure there's a lot of young guys and girls up in the Indy area who see what you're doing and think about, charting their own path. And you also just announced a partnership with Reebok, Dre, which is also pretty cool. And I'm sure Fresh Kimball is somewhere very excited that you're rocking the Iversons there. How did that come about?
So Post Game is a basically an organization that connects athletes with companies that are wanting these athletes to represent or do partnerships and deals with their brands. So it kind of came through that. Reebok just the question lows were coming out. Just wanted athletes to be able to do an NIL deal to promote those shoes as well. So that's kind of what happened.
Okay. Now you're kind of young, man. I don't know. Do you remember Iverson? Did you ever get to watch any of his stuff?
Obviously I wasn't able to, watch it live, but you always see the highlights and the crazy things he was able to do with the ball and stuff. So.
Yeah. I mean, to this day, one of the most there's always the guy, like it's every generation has a guy, or every couple of years there's a guy who your eyes are just drawn to. You have to watch when they're playing, and he was unbelievable. I mean, just 6 foot and was doing the stuff that he was doing. It was incredible. Right. Well, last thing then, Dre, is when you're not working on your brand and you're not playing basketball, what makes you tick? What are some of the things that you enjoy doing when you're away from the things that take up a lot of your time?
Sleeping.
Okay.
I like spending time with my teammates, friends, family. I got a girl. Spend a lot of time with her. I say watching movies. I'm a big movie guy. Really getting into TV shows, watching TV series. I'm a big anime person too.
Okay.
That's something that a lot of people don't know about me. I'm a big anime person. Watch a lot of animes. Play video games as well. So that's pretty much what I do in my free time.
What's your favorite anime series?
Naruto.
Okay. Naruto. Okay. You remember he was before your time, but Dang Adele used to do the like super what is it where he run down the floor and he's got his arms out? Yeah, that was his celebration back in the day. Donovan Mitchell thought it was like the funniest thing he's ever seen. Well, Dre, thank you so much for your time, man, and best of luck with the rest of your season. Really appreciate you telling us a little bit about your background and what you're up to, and we'll be watching the rest of the way.
Thank you. I appreciate it.